Thanks everyone for joining. Today's webinar, Maximizing the Value of Online Marketing Video, a Guide for Marketers. Upgrade your content marketing strategy with video. I'd like to introduce today's moderator, Tom Murphy. He's the General Manager and Editorial Director for Simpler Media, CMS Wire. Tom has written extensively about technology and business for more than 3 decades and has helped build some of the top online media companies, including MarketWatch, Red Herring, and Bloomberg News. He is also the author of Web Rules, How the Internet is Changing the Way Consumers Make Choices. Now I'll pass it over to Tom.
Thank you very much, Audrey, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's my pleasure to greet you to our presentation today. I'd like to give you a breakdown of the agenda. After these introductions and housekeeping notes, I'll introduce today's speaker, Stuart Patterson from RAMP, and then we'll have a live Q&A. We want you to submit questions all through the program, and I'll explain that next. Your questions can be submitted through the Q&A chat below on the right, and you can also send them in by Twitter. Our hashtag is MarcomVideo, with the 2 M's, and at CMS Wire or at RAMP Inc. If you aren't a regular reader of CMS Wire, I really encourage you to check it out. If you're interested in this program, you'd be interested in most of our stories. We've been around for about 12 years now. We have about over 100 monthly contributors. A lot of them are people just like you, practitioners in the field of marketing. We have over 300 articles a month, major editorial themes each month. We have all kinds of events, and you can see the 4 topic areas that we concentrate on most here. We are very interested in the subject today, for example. Without further delay, it's my real pleasure to introduce Stuart Patterson, the President and COO of RAMP. He's led and advised leaders of early and mid-stage ventures in a variety of markets, including multimedia and video services. As CEO, board director, or executive coach, he's managed or supported the funding, growth strategies, and in many cases, restructuring of a whole list of companies that you see there. Very experienced in the field. And as SpeechWorks CEO, Stuart was recognized as a top 10 leader in speech. Stuart, I think we're ready for you to take it away.
Thanks very much, Tom. I'm going to move the slides forward here. I guess
you're going to go to another tab here. Want to go to tab 2? There we go.
Should I try again?
Let's go to tab 2.
Tab 2. Okay, there we go. So, apologize for that. Thank you all for joining today's webinar. We're very excited to give a brief presentation on the merits of online video marketing and the do's and don'ts somewhat. And we hope to stimulate some questions about how you can get the kind of stellar results out of using video in your marketing that many of our customers have already achieved. So first, just one word, one slide about our company, RAMP. We, as you can see here with the list of customers, we know video. We have really cut our teeth or gotten a lot of experience working with the leaders in the use of video, broadcast video, video on demand, video of all types, which of course people are now sending over all sorts of networks to all sorts of devices. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But our background is in the media space, which I guess, Tom, is where your background is as well. We have provided these companies that you see on this slide with the innovative solutions that do many of the things, I want to say, but what I should really use is a better word, like many of the features, many of the added value that we were going to talk about on today's webinar. So without going into any of these companies in particular, I think most of you will recognize their names. I'll go right ahead to the first question that we're going to ask you to take a small poll on in just a minute. But that is the question of the day, which is, why should you consider using video in your marketing efforts, or more specifically in your content marketing efforts? Well, when we've looked at it, and we've looked at it from many different angles, what we find is that there's three general reasons why our customers are using video. One is they want to increase the traffic to their website. Almost everyone wants more visitors on their website every day. Video can help do that. A second reason is they want to increase the average time that each visitor spends on their site, looking at their content. And then, of course, the third reason is to convert that user, that viewer, into an action, or to get them to respond to your call to action so that you can upsell your product or your service, or maybe you can get them to watch another video on your site. So those are the three primary reasons: attracting, engaging viewers, and converting them into, perhaps, in the best case, a customer. Now, I'd like to suggest that we take the first poll, Tom.
Thanks very much, Stuart. And we are up to our first polling question. This is where our audience gets to interact with us. The question is, how important is video in your content marketing mix? And you can place your answers right now on the little box on the right that should be popping up on your screen. You see the question and the answers there. Please lock in your answers right now and hit the submit button on the lower right. And we'll give you about 30 seconds to do that. Stuart, from your experience, what's the outcome here? Are we going to see people saying it's very important or not very important? Where on the scale are they going to fall?
You know, I think it's going to be 50-50, Tom. There's a lot of interest in the marketplace in content marketing and all that content marketing can do for a brand. There's a lot of recognition that's building now around the possibility of using video as the primary and most powerful form of content marketing. But there's still, it's still nascent, it's still relatively new, and a lot of people just don't know how to do it and how to do it effectively. So I guess my prediction, my call would be that about half the people on this webinar already have some experience, and the other half are probably participating in the webinar to learn a little bit more about how to get started.
Sounds like a good guess. And Audrey, I think we're ready for the results now. Anytime you can put them up there.
Okay, closing poll.
Let's end it. We're going to have to wait for them to be tabulated. And it's about what Stuart predicted. There's about a third for very important, about a little under a third for average importance. 29% of you just had no answer to that. Did we stump you or did you not vote? But please vote in our polls. We'd love to hear your voice. About 7% don't really know, and I'm glad you're here today to find out. So, Stuart, I'm going to return the program to you at this point. Would you carry on?
Sure. So we just asked you how much video matters, and I thought it would be really interesting for those of you listening to give you a dramatic example of how much video can matter in your marketing efforts. I've put up 3 statistics here that come from several of our customers, and I think they sort of speak for themselves. They almost jump off the proverbial screen. Number one is that our customer used the ramp technologies and the sort of tricks of the trade that I will describe to you in a minute, and they were able to increase their unique visitors by 300+% in the space of about the first 10 weeks after they incorporated all of our technologies. The second one is equally dramatic. Of all of those visitors, all of their visitors, not just the new ones, they increased the average time across their millions of visitors to their site by 40% overall in that same period of time. And perhaps the most dramatic one is the last one, and we may come back to this at the end, which is they were able to increase the rates at which the viewers of their videos clicked through to an advertisement or to another invitation to watch another video or explore some other content by 10x. So to put a fine point on that, if they had an advertising response rate of 0.6 to 0.7, maybe even a 0.9%, which are sort of typical for these kinds of sites, they were able to increase that to 8%. So that shows you the dramatic impact that video can have. So let's look a little bit into the internals. I'm not going to get too deep into how this technology all works, but I am going to give you a quick primer on what it is about the RAMP technology and the solution that we provide that allows for those dramatic metrics to be improved so significantly. So the first part is a concept known as metadata, and most of the people on the phone, I'm sure, will have heard that term before, but just to give it a quick description, the metadata is the data in the document that somebody is looking at that your search engines can use to get at that, to find the document or find the object that somebody is looking for. So the metadata is related to the other word right below it called tagging, or sometimes referred to as meta tags that are set up to go with your video. The only way to get that metadata and to get those meta tags set up is to actually do a transcription of the audio file in the video. Otherwise, it's impossible for a normal search engine to know what's in the video. But if you can transcribe word for word what people are saying in the video, then you've got a perfect set of metadata representing exactly what that video is about. So this ability to transcribe what's in a video and unlock or uncover the data that represents everything that that video is about is the keys to really juicing those metrics that I showed earlier. And obviously, once you do that, you can share the video, you can provide people with the ability to share a portion of the video or all the video, and you can also leverage, that may be the other word we should have put on this slide, is you can leverage that metadata in order to connect it to other things going on in the screen. So let me give you an example of that on this slide here, which shows one of our favorite customers and their use of the RAMP solution. This customer is People's Choice, which those of you who are maybe younger than I am will be more familiar with. People's Choice is a provider of a lot of the voting and a lot of the contests and a lot of the best actors that are loved by the younger generation here in America and around the world. And what they did was they took our RAMP technology and they transcribed the People's Choice Awards show in addition to many of their other videos. And then when you go on to their website, you can get the full experience, what we refer to as the RAMP VX, or viewer experience, that's shown in the screen display here. As you'll see, there's a search in video box right in the middle below the right-hand corner of the actual video itself. That means that they could go into the video and search for anything that they think might be in that video, and it'll skip right to it and show them how many places that appears in the video. They can also follow along with what's being said on the video in the transcript that's being played sort of karaoke style in the box below the video. And then on the right-hand side, what we sometimes refer to as the right rail, you'll see what we call related content. The related content is being displayed to the viewers as they're watching the video, and it is being cycled or changed in accordance with whatever metadata or whatever people are talking about in the video. So when they talk about Taylor Swift, then you see related material about Taylor Swift. And as you'll see in a minute, that related material doesn't have to just be a profile. It could also be an advertisement. So before we get on to the concept of advertising and what you can do with this kind of powerful capability, why don't we survey the audience again, Tom, and see how they measure their marketing video ROI.
Thanks, Stuart. You know, ROI is always a top question. And this question here is simple. How do you measure marketing video ROI? Or you can also read that, how do you measure marketing video ROI if you're not sure, if you're not doing that right now? There's a question in your right-hand column in the bottom part. Do you see the question there? If you don't, if you're not on the polling tab, you may not see it. Make sure you click on that first and answer that question in the next 30 seconds, and then hit the little submit button. And then we will take a look at the results after our friends at WebEx tabulate them. And Stuart, I know I don't want to steal your thunder here, but what do you think most people are going to say here to unique visitors, social shares, CTA conversions, or lead captures?
Well, this is one of those where you stand depends on where you sit questions, because the people who run websites for a living and really depend on the traffic usually care the most about how many visitors they can attract to their website. But the people who, on the other hand, are looking at monetizing their website or are trying to get people to go to the store on their website, if they have a store, are looking at that conversion metric. But then, a lot of content marketers who are simply defending a brand, Tom, will be really as concerned with the social shares, because for them, a home run is if they can get somebody to take their content and share it with their friends on Facebook or on Twitter or whatever, and then it can potentially get to the point where it goes viral, and that, of course, is every marketer's dream, even if it's just a branding opportunity.
That's a really good answer. Audrey, let's close the poll and let the WebEx machines churn out the answer here. We'll see it pop up on the right side in a second.
All right, closing poll. We've got about 10 seconds to process here.
Thank you. Really enjoying this presentation so far. And by the way, there's a Q&A tab just above the polling tab. You can submit questions there anytime during the program. We really encourage that. And I see there's already a question there. Will this be available to review later? Yes, it will. We'll also be doing a summary story about this webinar within a few days on CMS Wire. So our big leader here is a third of the folks didn't answer it. I'm sorry to see that. I'd love to have people participate, but I'm glad 2/3 did. And the big answer is don't know. Currently not a priority for them. So I think that's something that we can address in the rest of the presentation. In media, people have had a lot of experience with video now, where this is not a new thing. And the bar is being raised on a daily basis, not just by professionals, but by just about anybody with an iPhone or a video cam that is producing video. Videos don't need to be terribly expensive to produce, but just about anybody can do them now. So it's kind of a double-edged sword.
It's interesting to see the results of the poll where most people were not in one bucket or another, and it really does depend on what you're trying to achieve with your website and with your content marketing efforts. So let me move forward to talk about what we think are the most essential priorities when you're looking to use video in content marketing. And first and foremost, what we like to talk about is the viewer experience. We call it the RAMP VX. It's a unique viewer experience when we deliver it, because what we do is we don't just play the video itself. We surround the video with interesting controls that the user can benefit from or the viewer can benefit from. And we also surround the video with other related information, which causes the viewers of the video to re-engage or to engage longer with your video content. I want to stop for just a second and suggest that the world has always believed that the user experience is the most important determinant of whether your website or your interactive service is going to be successful, let alone just your product. Steve Jobs, all these famous titans of high tech have always focused on the user experience. Well, RAMP has decided that we are going to modify that concept just a little bit in the interest of defending and promoting the interest of the people who like to watch video. And we're going to talk about this in terms of the viewer experience, or, as I said, the RAMP VX. So let's go to another example that demonstrates very powerfully how the RAMP VX is different from any other viewer experience when it comes to video content marketing. On the left-hand side of the screen you now see, entitled Delighting in Motion, is just a simple view of what we would show for just the video itself. So what you see there is the RAMP video player, but it could be anybody's video player. For those of you who know, in the video industry, we have to worry about whose video player are you trying to use on the device that you're trying to deliver the video to. Well, RAMP makes that very easy by offering either our own player with all of the power that you see built into that left-hand screenshot there, or we offer it as a framework for somebody else's player. So you don't have to switch out players in order to take advantage of the power of the RAMP viewer experience. And as I've mentioned in the previous one, you see the kind of search in video, the kind of keywords where it says next down below. You see the word advertisement, suggesting that there's an advertisement that's playing along the side that's linked to one of the keywords or pieces of metadata or meta tags that's been identified in this video. You also see the transcript of the video itself, of what people are saying. The person who is sort of demonstrating this, how to make this recipe for ale braised chicken, actually sounds pretty good. But the person who's sort of teaching this class on the web and in this video, is what they're saying is being transcribed and displayed right below the video there. But when you move your eyes over to the right-hand side, you'll see the full screen of what a viewer would see on this website. This is the website of, I believe, Better Homes and Garden. It might be recipes.com. They're both customers of ours. But you'll see there on the right that we take that viewer experience for the video, and then we add along the right-hand side an advertisement that corresponds directly to what's happening in the video at that specific instant. So this advertiser, which it looks like was Kraft, did not buy a piece of ad inventory that would just go with somebody cooking something random. This advertiser bought a piece of ad inventory to be displayed that he knew would be displayed right when somebody was talking about frying an egg or cooking with an egg. And he knew that his ad, or they developed their ad to fit that, or more likely, they developed their ad ahead of time, and then they realized that they could associate it with a point in the video that would be completely tied to the video, and therefore would increase the chance that someone would look over at it and potentially click through. They also put along the right-hand side related videos or related content. And this is one of the sites that has experienced that dramatic increase in the number of videos that are viewed and the average time that people spend on their website looking at videos as a result of this kind of affiliation. We call it contextual related content. So specific to the context of what the video is talking about or what the video is about at any moment in time, you can set up your website and your video content marketing to show related videos that are directly related to that context. So that gives you an idea of how different the viewer experience is. If you think of the YouTube experience, that's the experience that most of us think about when we think of video online. We think of going to YouTube and watching it. Well, in YouTube, you get what we call bare bones video. I sometimes call it bare naked video, but they tell me I shouldn't call it that. So I call it bare bones video, which is when the screen has nothing but the video playing, and there's not much happening around the edges, maybe just what was there before the video started playing. And it sort of encourages you to widen the video to be full screen or to take over everything. But what we believe is that this RAMP viewer experience is a much more powerful experience and is particularly much more powerful for the online video marketers like those of you who are on today's call. So let's go on to one more last question of the day, and we really hope we get closer to 90, 100% participation here. So all of you that are watching, please help us out and give us a feel for how is your video today supporting your key marketing performance indicators, your KPIs. Tom?
That's a really great question to ask our audience. And I'll just remind folks that the polling question can be found in the bottom right of your screen in that right column. You'll see the word polling on the blue bar. Click on that, and you'll see this question come up. Please lock in your answer now and hit the submit button on the bottom right. We want everybody on this call to do that. So we'll take a few more seconds to contemplate this. Very briefly, Stuart, where do you think folks are going to come in on this?
You know, I'm worried that most of them will come in on the barely meeting or not meeting their expectations, and that's because what we see out there, video it's incredibly popular, but it's relatively new in the content marketing scheme of things. And what we're seeing is a fair number of people struggling to get the results they want out of video, which is part of the reason we wanted to have this webinar, was to give people a strong feel for how it can be done and how dramatic the results can be. So, but, you know, that would be my prediction, Tom, is that for a fair number of people, it's not yet meeting their expectations, but they just need a little bit of help and maybe working with a partner like us, and we can get them there.
Good call. And let's close that poll now, Audrey, and wait for the results. I think we're going to see C and D. Yeah, there we go. C and D coming in pretty strong. I think a lot of people are not sure and not using video, and that's part of why they're here today. We have 31% no answer still. Some of you folks are listening, and we hope you're enjoying the program. Feel free to jump in and with the questions. Don't forget you can submit questions in the Q&A button in the middle of the right side column. You can send your questions there, or you can send them to hashtag #MarcomVideo, and we'll be glad to ask those at the end of the show. Stuart, take it away.
Thanks, Tom. So it's a little bit what I predicted, is that there's a fair number of people who are really interested in using video, but not yet really using it now. And then there's some who are using it and have jumped in some way, shape, or form, but it's not yet meeting their expectations. So let me wrap up this sort of presentation part of the webinar by talking about what it will be, what's necessary in order to get people to really take advantage of the video you're putting into your content marketing mix. And for most people, that means getting them to take an action, or what we call convert. You want to get them to watch your videos. That's the first goal. You want to get them engaged while they're watching your videos, and so that give them the feeling that they're enjoying it. You got to keep it short. And we do other webinars on how to design your videos so that they really achieve your goal. They're sticky. People watch them through to the end. They maybe send other people back to watch them. And you want to get that done, which is what we call the engagement portion. But then at the end, after they've finished watching your video, or after they've finished watching 3/4 of your video and are thinking about doing something else, you want them to take your call to action. You want them to click through for the bingo card where they tell you who they are, or you want them to go to your store on your site to order something, or you want them to click through an ad that you're playing along the right-hand rail, as I described earlier. Well, the question is, and that's where the money, of course, enters the scene. That's where you get an incredible return on investment in video content marketing, and it's where potentially you can even drive sales for your company. So let me give an example of how that can be done and is being done by one of our customers. So the first version of this I showed was what we called delighting the viewer, or delighting in motion. This one is called conversion in motion. So what you see here is another one of our customers, fitness.com, I think is the URL. And they have a series of videos on their website that are very, very easy to search, thanks to the RAMP, the power of the RAMP metadata and the RAMP meta tags. Very easy to find exactly what video you want. And if it's a long video of a long exercise session, you can skip to a portion of the section if you want to, because of the search in video capability that we provide. But alongside, on the right-hand side, you see they're doing two things with the related content, the contextual related content that I described in the last section of this webinar. They are playing an ad in the top, and then in the bottom part, surrounded by the red hand box, the red line box, is a call to action for the viewer of their videos to go on to the next part, which is shown on the right there on the side, which would probably be on another screen, but we've shown it here on the same screen. And that's the conversion that they're looking for. They are engaging the viewers to fill out information about themselves and to basically use their site to create a calorie needs sort of formula, or to fill in the information for a calorie needs calculator. And then with that information, they will of course track that user from then on, and they will have that user as an engaged email or whatever profile information they collect along with this calorie needs calculator. So that's just a terrific example, and I'll show you one more of a very different example of video content marketing, but we think that it's equally important and interesting, and perhaps some of you on the line right now will be in the business of using video, or will be exploring maybe using video for online training. So just like we are doing online training now, only what we're showing is sort of PDF version of slides. In this particular example, taken from a very large high-tech company that we're working with here in Boston, they have a whole library of videos on technology subjects, and the training classes are being presented by professional instructors. And so it's actually called Video Instructor-Led Training, the VILT acronym that you see up there on the right. And what we are providing to them is we're providing, of course, all of the searchability and the power of the search function that I've described earlier. But we're also providing the search within video capability that I've mentioned. And finally, you see at the bottom there, you can barely make it out, but you see a lot of boxes above the karaoke of the transcript that's scrolling as the instructor is speaking. And what those are is different languages that the viewers will be able to select. So if they're not a native English speaker, they'll be able to select that second one, which I believe is French, or maybe that one says English, but the next one after it says Spanish or something. But they'll be able to select that, and they'll be able to get a scrolling transcript of what that instructor is saying in their language of choice. So a very powerful example of what the transcript can do for a training organization or for a company that wants to use their video libraries for online training like this company does. And then, as you see on the right-hand side, they're again using the right-hand side for more than just the video. They're offering to show the viewer of the video a PowerPoint presentation on the same subject. That's what's labeled as engage in this slide. And then they're offering to actually download that file via what we're calling a conversion action or a call to action. So if the person were to get here free because they weren't a subscriber, this is actually a lot of these courses are paid for with relatively expensive subscriptions. It makes for a very big business. But if they were not being paid for a subscriber, they might click on that download file and you'd immediately ask them to fill out a bingo card on who they are and what their interests are in your kinds of training classes and training videos. So there's another second example, and now I want to move to the conclusion, and then we can move into a little bit of a Q&A. So this is the final slide in today's webinar, and I really hope that you'll take a second to give it a look, because what we've tried to do is to summarize in one slide all that we've talked about over the past 35 or 40 minutes. Most marketers care about one or all three of the items marked under your marketing goals. I would assume that of the 50-odd people who are on the line now, all of you would want to attract more viewers to your website or to your advertisements or your videos, wherever they are playing. You would then want them to be engaged. The people who clicked on your videos or found your videos through some form of search, you'd want them to be engaged, and you'd want them to convert. You'd want them to come over and do a call to action. You'd want them to act on what they are seeing in the video or the related content that you're providing along the right-hand rail, as I've described today. So that's what we do, is we enhance that viewer experience. We help the viewers find the video or the section of the video they're looking for. While they're watching the video, we help them to we encourage them to watch all of it. We give them a feeling of greater control than they can get from any other sort of viewer experience, and we enable them to explore the video in ways that no one else can do. And all of those things together encourage them to act on whatever it is they're watching in the video. And then you see at the bottom arrow there, you see the kinds of things that RAMP transforms: the search function, the metadata and tagging, the ability to search in the video, the creation of universal playlists, not just video content, but PowerPoint or PDF or documents, and then the whole concept of related content or related ads. Those are the keys to converting people into taking the action you want them to take once they're on your website. So that's a summary, Tom. I think the next slide is an invitation for the people on the webinar now to submit their questions, or just to stay on and listen to our questions, but also for them to download our free ebook on this particular subject. You can hear a lot of, or you can read a lot of and see a lot of what I've spoken about today in our ebook entitled Maximizing the Value of Online Marketing Video. And if everything's working correctly, all you need to do is go to that URL. Tom, should we move to a little bit of Q&A?
I think we should. And if Audrey will put up the Q&A slide, there we go. I'll just remind you that you can submit your questions through the Q&A function on the right column, or through the chat function, or through tweeting them to Marcom Video. And we have several questions in queue already. This is from Tricia, and I like this question because it's so basic. Stuart, I hope you appreciate this too. How long should a video be?
Yeah, that is a very good and important question. Of course, it depends on the purpose of the video. You know, advertisements are never all that successful if they go much over 30, 45 seconds, maximum of 60 seconds if it's a pre-roll or a post-roll. If it's a piece of video content, like what we're really focusing on today, we generally think it shouldn't be much more than 3 to 5 minutes. You can frequently get people to watch, 2 or 3 minutes of video without thinking about, well, is this video really telling me anything new, or getting bored or getting distracted by something. So 3 to 5 minutes is where we would sort of guide you if you're just thinking about content marketing. But of course, if you've got somebody who's gone through a bingo card or has self-selected or enrolled in something like a training program, then of course you can have the video be a half an hour or longer. And that's again where the power of our technology in providing the metadata around that and allowing the viewers to look within the video and skip to the section that they really want to see really adds an enormous amount of value to the viewer.
Yeah, great answer. This is another question. I think this really cuts to the heart of KPIs. When you look at the video, do you consider the video playtime as part? For example, when video is consumed 50% or 75%, or watching the whole video, how is that measured? How does that factor into KPIs?
I'm just trying to understand the question exactly. A video consumed to the end.
In other words, watched all the way through.
Yeah.
Do you measure that as a KPI?
Well, we of course have very powerful data tracking, data collection, and analytics that comes with the RAMP platform. We refer to our platform as a video content management platform, And so we do track not only whether they watched 2 minutes of a 5-minute video or whether or not they watched it to the end. So we sort of discriminate within that. So we do know how many of the viewers watched it to the end and how many did not. But when we're talking, when we put up statistics like the KPIs that I talked about earlier of average time that somebody spends on the site, or we actually, for those same customers, we track statistics like average number of videos viewed. We will, on the time side, we will of course track partial viewing, but if on the other side, we'll generally track, you know, how many people watched how many videos through to the end versus partially.
Good answer. I'm going to extend that a little bit, and I think you just answered it partially for us, but how else does RAMP differentiate your video marketing solutions from some of the other competitors out there?
So, well, of course, I'm glad you asked. The big differentiation, which I think many of the listeners will have gathered by now, is that we've made this core idea of transcribing what the people are saying in the video into a core part of our platform, a core feature. Our competitors, for the most part, will either say that it's not all that important, in which case I'm not quite sure how they're going to get all the wonderful results we've described on today's webinar from their solutions, but and I don't think they actually do. Or they're going to say, well, yeah, if you really want to do that transcription and metadata tagging that the people from RAMP talk about, we can introduce you to a third-party partner of ours. And the only problem with that is that then you're into a more complicated solution from multiple parties. You have to negotiate multiple contracts, and ultimately you have to pay more for a suboptimal solution that doesn't necessarily work nearly as well as the RAMP solution where it's incorporated from the ground up. So our total cost of ownership and our overall speed to return on investment is much quicker because we provide the total solution in our integrated platform. I think that's one of the big takeaways I'd want the people on the webinar to hear.
Great, good answer. Next question I wanted to ask is how you approach, you know, everybody's moving to mobile, everybody's got mobile on their thoughts every day. How do you approach video on mobile devices on the small screen?
Yeah, I'm actually very glad you asked that because I had a slide up there which with a graphic on it which showed a couple mobile devices and showed everybody liking the experience on those mobile devices. And then I forgot to point out that we live in the BYOD, the bring your own device world. We live in the mobile first world, and so it's a problem from a generic sort of technology sense, and it's also when you get to too small an interface like a smartphone, it can be a problem from a viewer experience point of view. So we have invested an enormous amount in making our platform totally responsive, which is, as most of the people on the line will understand, is a key word that means that it adapts sort of seamlessly and provides a consistent viewer experience across all devices, regardless of whether it's a laptop or a desktop or a tablet or a smartphone or even a larger smartphone, which is probably easier to watch a video on. So our interface, the RAMP viewer experience, can be delivered across all of those devices seamlessly. We support players that play on all of those devices, and as the people, again, some of the technical people on the call will know, those are different players using different standards in some cases, different formats. And we also are able to deliver, for those who care, we're able to deliver advertisements in those different formats. So I guess the simple solution is it translates very, very well across a whole range of mobile devices, Tom.
Okay, great. Thanks, Stuart. You know, we still have time for more questions. We have a couple in queue, but if you have a question that's come up in your mind while we're asking these, please go to the Q&A section and pose that there, or tweet it out to us at #MarComVideo, hashtag MARCOMM video. we'll get that answered for you. Here's a question from Fred. How often and how successfully do you see video used as a lead gen tactic? And do you have examples on how that is best implemented? It's really two questions there. Why don't you take those one at a time? First, let's start with, can video be used as a lead gen tactic?
Well, I guess I'd approach that in a couple different ways. First, backing up, Fred probably knows that a lot of lead generation is targeted at incoming traffic. So you know it's the concept of inbound marketing as opposed to outbound marketing. And in the inbound stratosphere, the challenge is to get the search engines to surface your name, the name of your site, so that you get them to come in from Google, for example. Of course, that's the most widely used. And in order to get your site to be optimized using the concept of search engine optimization, or SEO, that's where our technology plays a really big role. And a lot of companies back, 3-4 years ago, before video was being used or even talked about really a lot in the content marketing place, would come to Ramp just for this purpose of enhanced search and SEO for their websites. And those are generating leads. The way it works is basically that the metadata in the video becomes meta tags that are visible to the search engine. And so instead of having to go in and hand code all of the keywords that you might think are in the video that you want somebody to find on your website, or you want the search engine to find on your website and detect on your website as metadata, this just happens all automatically thanks to the Ramp solution. So I guess I would say yes, we believe that the fact that the unique visitors that I talked about earlier, who increased by 300% at several of our customers, that those were in essence the moral equivalent of a lead. Now, I think most of those sites were media properties, and so they are in the business of attracting visitors to their website, but most brands are in the same business. And if you can attract somebody to your website, you may be able to convert them into a lead. And that's where the other piece goes that I talked about, which is if you can get them to watch the video and enjoy it and then show them something along the sides or the right rail while they're watching the video that they click on, then you've got a lead. You've generated a lead. Now, the other part of his question was...
he was basically providing a few examples of how this might be implemented. I think you've kind of gotten into that, yeah. But if you'd like to elaborate.
So no, that's sort of what I just did. I mean, I think that's the key for us. You can obviously send short video snippets to people using any one of the numerous, mail engines, whether it's Constant Contact or these kinds of things. And then from the video, should they watch it, you can provide a link back to your own website, and then you've got that possibility of showing them videos using our kinds of added value. So we just see it as a new form of video content, or content rather, in the whole content marketing mix, and the ability to surface up all this metadata really transforms its discoverability on the web, and that's where a lot of this marketing and lead generation is taking place.
Great. Here's a question from Lee. Is the player look customizable?
Oh, absolutely. The player look that we showed, for the most part, was the sort of, I'll call it the full Monty, meaning that they were using every possible option that we give them. But our customers really use it in all different shapes and sizes. There are some customers who just put up the search and video box there so that people can search within the video. There are other customers who just show the taglines where the sort of meta tags are appearing in the video. Many customers don't necessarily use the transcript at the bottom, but we recommend it particularly for videos where you might want to translate it into other languages, or where you might want somebody to encourage them to search for another speaker who appears later in the video or something like that. So the basic answer is yes, absolutely. We customize it all the time. And as I said earlier, it can fit around your existing video players. We have what we call a video player framework. So we try and make it very, very easy to integrate all the power of our solutions.
Great. I think we have time for 2 more questions here, and I'm going to take my privilege to ask one since there's only one in queue, and that is, how much do you, when you talk to your customers, how much are they spending on videos? Is this all over the map, as I suspect? I've heard people producing their videos for as little as $50 or as much as $50,000.
Well, you've asked about producing, at least the second part of your question, but people can spend a wide range of numbers on the production. You can go into a studio, or you can do what we do here at RAMP. You can have somebody on staff who knows how to produce a video that looks very professional but doesn't cost a lot of extra money for each new video we produce. I think, though, the question that I'd like to answer is the extension of your question, which is, once you get a very high-quality video produced, how much does it cost to launch it on your website and provide all of this special capabilities that I've been talking about so that people can find it, people are encouraged to watch it and engaged in the viewing of it, and that people may link it to their related content or their ad engine or whatever, or their ad network. And there, the costs aren't that bad. You can get up and running with a solution from RAMP, for example, for $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And of course, for the very high volumes and very many applications which we're finding customers do, they start with corporate communications videos, or they start with training videos, and then they start using it in content marketing purposes on their website. So there's lots of different applications for it, but when you get up into many applications and millions of viewers, you're still not talking about more than $10,000 to $15,000 a month. So it can be relatively inexpensive. It can be more expensive. Really depends on the purpose and the customer. But it's not nearly as expensive as it used to be. Video has now become a very easy to use IT digital tool for marketing.
Great. Somebody asked about getting the ebook that you mentioned earlier, and we're going to be including that in our follow-up email later this week. Somebody else asked if if this webinar is being recorded. It is, and we're going to air that as soon as it's available through CMS Wire, where we'll also do a follow-up story on this webinar. You'll see that later this week too. Okay, our closing question. Why do you think companies would not commit to using video as a tactic at this point? What's your suspicion there, Stuart?
I think it's mostly it's a knowledge-based question. I think it's either fear or ignorance of sort of the unknown. If you don't know about it and you haven't experimented with it, then how the heck can you incorporate it into your content marketing mix? But I think the word is getting out there. I did a little search myself just on Google about video content marketing, and it's amazing how many bloggers are talking about it, and how many marketers are talking about it, and how many articles are being written about it, and how video, everybody knows, I didn't put up all these statistics, but people know that the statistics for what you get from a video versus what you get from just reading or just listening to something is much, much more. You retain 50 to 60% of what you hear and see, as opposed to the 10 to 20% you might retain if you read it only. And the other thing that if you do the studies and the polls, we probably should have include this in the next webinar, Tom, is if you do the polls of video marketers or just marketers in general and ask how many of them are planning video into their budgets, it's increasing faster than any other element of content marketing. So the word is getting out there, but I think that's the answer to the viewer's question, is that people just don't know enough about it to get started. And so that's what we've tried to address in today's webinar.
that's a really good point, Stuart, and I'm seeing the same thing in the surveys I look at, is that video use is really soaring. I think it's because people are understanding that 90% of communications is visual. They make great impacts, and I think that'll be a great topic for our next webinar. Now it's time to thank our audience for being with us today. This webinar has been recorded. Again, it will be available on cmswire.com later this week, along with a summary story on it. My special thanks to Stuart Patterson for joining us today. I hope you'll stay tuned for upcoming webinars from CMS Wire and Read the Site Daily. For CMS Wire and Simpler Media Group, this is Tom Murphy signing off. Have a great day.